our charge is to make the right amount of money, to give back as much as possible, and to make sure we don't keep any money we don't need.
Who are the people who are going to hold you accountable and call you out to be your best self? Not who the people are going to be sweet to your face. Who are the people who are going to call you to be the best of yourself?
Sometimes I think people try to make it very complicated, but like just use what you know to influence the world and do good. Welcome to the Rethreading Lives Podcast, where we talk about how to take your threads of harm and through the rethreaded process, transform them into something that actually helps you reach your potential. We'll talk with different leaders in our city and our country and find out what they're doing. You'll walk away from listening to this podcast with useful insights and captivating stories on how you yourself can rethread your life and your business. I'm Kristen Keene, and this is the Rethreading Lives Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rethreading Lives Podcast. I am Kristen Keene, and this is
Jason Jones.
And our host today is Brian Wolfburg, President and CEO of Vystar Credit Union. We're going to start off a little bit with how we know you, and then you'll get to speak.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So, I know Brian because I am sometimes an overly excited extrovert with ADHD. And I was at an event for United Way, I believe. And you were the speaker, and I think you had just started. And I was like, and you talked about using your business for good. And I remember I was like, I have to go talk to that man. And I walked up to you and I was like, hi, my name is Kristen Keene. And I was so excited. I was like, does your company give gifts? And you graciously pointed me to one of your employees. And that's how the relationship started, was us getting to talk to you about how to do corporate gifts. And then Vystar Credit Union placed the largest order in our history. 2,000 journals for every single employee. Mm-hmm. And then that's
when the rest of us met you, because you came to the old building.
Came out there for the tour and got to see all of the wonderful work you guys were doing.
Yeah.
And then you made a video and sent it out to all your employees, which was amazing on so many levels, which we can dissect in a little bit. And then in the middle of COVID, we were again in partnership because we started making medical masks for hospitals. And you and your team led the charge with rallying all the credit unions in the city to fund our employees during COVID to make the masks to help the hospitals. So it was like everybody won in this situation.
Yep.
It's one of the reasons why we made it through COVID.
Yep.
And then also in the middle of COVID, we found a building that we knew needed to be our building, and Vystar became a permanent part of our campus of hope. And there is the Vystar building on our campus. Mm-hmm. And you made a huge contribution to us creating a campus of hope for women who are now able to leave human trafficking. So
yeah, that was an amazing jump for you guys to go from the location we first met in to where you are now. And always very proud of what we've been able to do. But you were able to bring together some amazing community partners, a variety of individuals who leaned in on that. And you guys have just exploded since we first met you in a nice way, dear. Wrap up 5 or 6 years there in just under a minute. And absolutely. And here we are today.
Today. Did I miss anything as well?
No, obviously we met Brian, we fell in love with him, and then we started hearing, and I hope we do talk about a little bit about just your passion for making a difference. And I think it was in Alaska, you did some work, then you came down here and started it all up. It's just, we realized that you had a heart for people, and we immediately connected with you. It's just been amazing what you do, but then what the organization around you is doing too.
Absolutely. And I hope we get to cover a couple of those things today. We have some really exciting stuff going on that, is all about doing good in our community and giving back.
So before we get into that, where who is Brian Wolfburg? How did you end up here? What does your life look like?
Sure.
A
So,
little history,
yeah.
little present.
I grew up in upstate New York, just outside of Buffalo.
Really? So snow has been like a part of your life?
Snow is a major part of my life.
Okay.
And every time I tell anyone that here in Jacksonville, everyone says, "Oh, you must be so happy to be here." Snow is not one of those reasons. I actually miss it.
You do?
I enjoy the cold weather. Also enjoy the warm weather and the beautiful scenery here in Jacksonville, but I do miss upstate New York and the cold weather. I grew up there outside of Buffalo. I grew up with 5 brothers, so there were 6 boys.
No, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so 6 of us, about a year and a half apart each. So 10 years separation. And my poor mother, I think we also had a male dog at one point and a male cat. And my father was a little bit of a child, so maybe 7 boys.
I bet you have some good stories.
I bet you do.
So where are you in the mix of it?
I am the youngest child.
Oh,
You're the baby.
Yes, I am.
That is. Oh, keep going.
Yeah. So,
Sorry.
Ever since I was young, I was very much into business. I was always doing some little entrepreneurial thing myself. I had started multiple lemonade stands. I had them at multiple locations around town and have advertisements and stuff. I created a local little town newspaper that I would sell. I did a candy thing at Easter and Valentine's and Easter, where I would take orders and make candies and deliver them after the fact. In fact, at one point I was doing some stuff and I would, it was about 4th grade. I was employing other kids in my class and stuff like that. Awesome. I was always sort of had a entrepreneurial or business bent to me.
Do you know why? Like, was there influence in your life? Was it your family? Do you have any ideas?
My father was an attorney. He was a corporate attorney in banking. He had each of my brothers have gone in various ways. I have brothers who are doctors and architects and work in the financial advising field and stuff like that, and in law. But I think they just allowed us to explore what we wanted to do. And it was sort of an interest of mine. I wouldn't have said it was business at that point, but I just liked, finding a need and making something, and then loved the other side of that, of earning some money from the work that I did. And that grew over time. I eventually moved into the investment space and banking. I worked for initially Merrill Lynch and then over for Deutsche Bank in New York City. And over time came back to Buffalo through a international bank, HSBC, which took me not only to Buffalo and New York, but to London and over to Asia for a bit. Did a lot of work in that space, worked in a variety of different departments, from trusts and estates to commercial lending and retail and other things. But even during that time, I was still doing my own entrepreneurial things. I started 2 or 3 different businesses, bought and turned around some other businesses and sold them and stuff. As I talk about this, one of the ones that really was a theme throughout my life and continues, whether it's as a business or personally, was just doing historic rehab. Did construction on apartment buildings and stuff. Did the construction myself. There was a point when I was a branch manager for HSBC, that we had bought a building from the 1800s, and we would go at 5 a.m. and work until 8, and then get changed in my car, go in and do my branch work, and then be back at 5, and we'd work till midnight. And we did that for 2 years, converting an abandoned building into apartments. I still own several of those, and it's one of my interests now, a little bit more on, as I'm a little bit occupied with work, doing it in my personal life on our home and things like that. But after with all of that going on, after HSBC, I moved over to a bank based out of Ohio, because one of my mentors left HSBC and went to be a regional president for them. And I ended up working with KeyBank for about 6 or 8 years. in New York, in Washington State, and up in Alaska. And that's what took me to Alaska. I was at a point in time in my life when I was looking for a change, and there was an opportunity to lead the retail arm for the state of Alaska. And, not a lot of people are willing or able to make that jump. And so I did, and went up to Alaska and spent many years up there. That's where I met my spouse. And
In Alaska?
yeah, we met in Alaska. We lived about 400 miles apart when we first met. It took about 2 months to meet after we first talked. And,
Wow.
and then even after that, for about 6 months to a year, we'd just see each other every weekend. And ultimately, fast forwarding that story, I see here about 7 years ago, we adopted our son. We adopted our son out of Salt Lake City in Utah, and got back to Alaska. And it's a beautiful state. I enjoyed my time there when I moved up as a single individual and as a couple. As we were younger, there was a lot of adventure and stuff to do, but there were challenges. And some of those included getting family up there, getting the grandparents up there and stuff like that. So it was actually adopting our son and going back to Alaska. It was just going into winter, and you have a newborn baby. And I think we went multiple days of him waking up and not seeing the sun. We went, time periods where you couldn't go out, but they'd have to be wrapped up very much because it was negative 20 degrees. And as summer rolled around, there's bears and moose moving through the yard and stuff. And we took a trip to San Diego, and I think it was probably first or second morning. And I woke up, I put our son Asher in a stroller, and I'm walking down the boardwalk with a Starbucks, and I'm going, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And so going back to Alaska, we decided to take a look around and find the next opportunity and find what would be the right next move. And over time, ended up here at Vystar, and came into Vystar back in 2017. Our organization was based over on Blanding Avenue at that time. We had started over on board Naval Air Station Jacksonville back in 1952. And so we were located pretty close to that over on Blanding, and we were about half our size. And then over the past 6 years, we've just gone through a nice journey of refurbing parts of the organization, updating some policies, procedures, really enhancing who we are, and putting out some new products and services, growing the organization into some new markets. And then, as I think we're going to talk a lot about today, at one point said, okay, what do we stand for? Like, we get that we're a credit union, and we've got a great history here and people love us, but what do we stand for? And at that time, we had a mission and a vision and a set of values, about 10 different values, core values that were good, but they were sort of table stakes. They didn't make a true statement. And so what we did is we took that, we didn't throw that out. We still are who we've always been, but we really simmered it down to, at our core, what are we trying to do and why do we exist? And I think that's what brings us here today, is because there was a lot of transformational work that we did at the credit union over the past 6 years that are around, as I said, things like policies, procedures, systems, physical infrastructure. But I think the biggest change that we've made is really realizing who we were, taking control of that, and then being intentional about how we go out to market with that and what we do in our community. And that brings us to today and me walking into the studio.
I think you may have answered one of the biggest questions I had is when I first met you, you were obviously already at Vystar, and I think had been there for a little bit at that point. And so the thing that struck me is, okay, Brian has this internal passion for people and for impacting a community. Vystar has this passion. Did he just get lucky and find this company? Did he create this in this company? It sounds like they had some building blocks, but maybe you brought some of that stuff or reignited it in the people that were there.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of saying it. I mean, obviously, we're part of the credit union space, and the credit union space is based on the mantra of people helping people. So at its core, every single credit union is going to be about how to make a difference in its employees' lives, how to make a difference in their community and with their members. You know, it was always a piece of what we did, giving, volunteering, being a part of the community. My predecessor, Terry West, led a great organization. And, we've always been really good individuals who have great intentions and have been committed to doing the best work possible. What we did was focus in on that, shine a light on it, put it up on a pedestal and say, this is who we're going to be in every decision we make, every action we take, and we're going to follow through on it. And that has helped to provide clarity, and the clarity in both envisioning what we're going to do and what we're going to be and how we execute on it. So I think it's a little bit of it's always there at the core of who we are as an industry. It was there with who we are as a credit union and our history. But we've really sort of amplified it. And then that started a spin wheel effect of, as we amplified it, we find that partners are seeking us and connecting on that basis. We're being asked to talk on that basis. Employees who are seeking to find a career and a place to grow are seeking us out because they are purpose-driven themselves and they want to be with a purpose-driven organization.
And I think that's one of the powerful things I think we probably should talk about, whether it's now or later, is there is a myth that if I do good, there's a cost. And sometimes there's a cost up front. But I think you're making a really key point of it becomes a benefit. There is a positive business reason to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, every organization has a marketing department and sits down and decides what their brand is. And for a lot of organizations, they make a choice to participate in things, to contribute money, to volunteer, but they do that to execute on their brand. The difference here is that we decided what type of people we want to be, what type of organization we want to be, how we want to help our employees, how we want to help our members, how we want to help our community. And then that sort of became our brand. And so it's the same, right? A lot of organizations are doing a lot of great work. I just think that for us, it's at the core of who we are, and everything that we do is a fulfillment of that. And what we see with regards to our growth in membership, is people receiving that well and connecting with it and saying, that's what we need. That's what we want in our community. We want community organizations or companies that are not just here to conduct business, but part of our community and working hard to make it better. I selfishly, I want it to be better for my family who lives here. We always think about, what we're leaving to our son. And that's why we do a lot of our own personal work is focused on youth and things like that. And it's just amazing to carry that through to where you work on a daily basis. As a credit union, we're not for profit. So one of the benefits that we have as we go through that process of choosing what to do and what to choose as our guiding light is we can look at things a little bit longer term and a little bit more about being a sustainable organization. We can value the payback in longer terms. And that's what I think is one of the parts that's missing when you try to connect doing good and philanthropy and seeing how that's good for business, is sometimes investor-led organizations or organizations that might have share prices to worry about, they are worrying about what happens this week, what happens this month, what happens this quarter. And you can't always look at it this way. There are certain parts of what we do where the financials don't pencil out on that piece. But when it's a piece of the puzzle, the whole makes sense. We have an employee in our organization who will use the term with regards to a lot of the work we do in high schools in the area. We have 18 branches inside of high schools where we teach financial literacy, and we work with about 225 students a year and teachers. And then we teach literacy to thousands of students a year.
Wow.
And he says, you can't always count what counts. And I take that, I wouldn't take that saying from him, but I agree with it completely of that's how we evaluate stuff. We still have the business sense on the back of house to run an operation our size because we are responsible for the safety and soundness of everyone's money. But we know that what we're doing is contributing to a better community, that we're elevating the lives of our members or their neighbors, that we're helping to create a better place to live, that we're providing safety nets for others. And that's sort of the whole doing good and people helping people.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I know, because you can hear all the rethreaded process in there. The value of time, like time. We were talking about but courage is the ability to choose long-term over short-term. That's what I don't know if you agree with the definition, but that's what I've been defining it as. It takes courage and an investment in time to make a longer-term decision with no direct ROI in the moment.
Yep.
Because to care for people and have the bigger picture.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all know you're never going to do wrong by doing right or by taking care of people or being a good person. We're still in a business. We're going to have to make decisions at times. We have to weigh different things, but everywhere that we can, we lean in. And, I know in the process of time, as you talk about it, part of that is being intentional and making sure that you connect who you are and what you want to be together, and that you make those tough decisions to stay the course. And unfortunately, we are a world that is led by the finances of everything, the investment of everything, and the dollar. And I'm not saying that's wrong. That's a lot of what operates business. It's what operates our business. Money. It's the aspect of life that we're responsible for our members. But there's something really nice that's created when you can take a step back and take a moment, take the time to figure out what is the right course long term, what is sustainable. Because whether it's in a family, a business, or a community, making decisions for the long term, sustainable purposes is always going to play out better.
And if you deeply know your purpose and you have a vision for what you want your life to look like, then that's your filter on your making long-term decisions. So maybe you can take us through what is, like when you say, we know what the core of Vystar is, maybe you can walk us through what is the core, and then maybe walk us through a couple decisions that you made based on that your structure you have.
Yeah, I think, so we always had a mission statement and a vision, and we had core values, and they were really good mission statements, vision statements, but they were long and complex. And we talked about things like, bringing credit union services to more people in more places across the state of Florida. And so we did some workshops on why. Why do we care that we bring more credit union services to more people in more places? And as we dialed that back over and over again over a series of months, we got to that it's about the impact that we're having, right? Like if we're just providing financial services, and I think we do it rather well, but if that's all we're doing, then anyone can do that. You can have nowadays you can have ChatGPT probably do it for you. Can build its own bank and serve your needs and meet all the regulatory requirements. But we wanted to have a purpose of, we believe our products and services at their core, do good in people's lives, that they have an impact, right? So it could be a decision as simple as what we're doing around rates and fees, and ensuring that we leave more money in more people's pockets so that they can afford the basic services in life, or that they can save for their child's education. As we talked about dialing back what we are about and why we exist, we got down to that we really wanted to make a difference and do good. And, for us, we look at bringing more credit union services to more people across the state. The why of all of that got back to doing good. And that's enabled us to really focus on everything that we do and every decision we make. In fact, while we talked about it with regards to what we do as a business, is started to bring into question other things. Well, what else could we do that would do good? Where else could we have an impact? You know, we have a lot of things that we've done throughout the years that I can think of. And so I start with like probably 4 or 5 years ago, we looked at our employee benefits program, and we rolled out 16 new employee benefits for our employees in 1 year. And then since then, we've added about 2 or 3 a year. So they're up about 20 different employee benefits. There's probably not many that you can think of that we don't have. And the theory there was, we're going to be able to, yes, provide more to our employees. We're going to make their families more secure. We're going to lead to happier employees. We're going to decrease turnover. When we decrease turnover, we're going to have more tenure. When we have more tenure, our members are going to see employees they know for longer. They're going to have employees who have built relationships with them, employees who know our product sets and services better, make fewer mistakes. And so you got to follow that whole string down to say, okay, we're going to have better retention and we're going to have fewer mistakes on products. And that's where we're going to get our payback. But in that whole space is everything that the employee gets out of that in their personal life. We cover a variety of things from assistance on adoption and fertility to maternity and paternity leave to not just matching on your 401k, but matching on 529 plans for kids to go to school. It's quite a suite of products or quite a suite of benefits that we provide. And it was a long-term decision. If you look at what we've been doing in the community with our supporting investment of things like the Museum of Science and History in Mosh building its new museum, or the zoo and its expansion, or the POW MIA Museum and its ability to get off the ground, or the Emerald Trail, that is a long-term decision about what type of community do we want to create? What type of investment are we going to put into this place we call home? And in fact, you magnify that, you can look at us moving our campus downtown and putting a stake in downtown, and not doing it in the way that's the cheapest or that we can just get down there, open the doors and be done, but continuing to improve the downtown core, either through activities that we do or investments we make in the infrastructure, or things that we're doing to activate it ourselves, and or with places like Downtown Vision with the Art Walk and our support of the river jams and things like that. It is all about making a difference and doing good in our community. In fact, we're just in the middle of doing our annual event, which is Good is Everywhere. And that goes from September 15th to September 30th. In that short time frame alone, we've had over 50% of our employees, about 1,300 individuals, volunteer time. We've volunteered over 5,000 hours in Central Florida, North Florida, and parts of Georgia, given back over over $50,000 in grants, but also other funds that have been utilized. We've opened up a variety of nonprofit cultural venues to our members, given admission to about 15,000 members in our community who wouldn't otherwise be able to access museums and things like that. And, it's just every part of what we do. One of the things that a lot of people question or ask is why we continue to feel this need to grow. And there is a bit of it that has to do with what's going on in the financial services world and competition from fintechs, added regulation, cost of technology, and needing to scale and gain efficiency. But a large driver behind that is also that we know that when we come to communities, especially a lot of these small communities where there aren't financial services anymore, we don't just come in and set up a branch, but we come in, we set up a branch, we take care of it appropriately. We create a nice space in the community. We employ people. We provide them employment, great compensation, good benefits. We then engage with the community. We start interacting with the nonprofits. We serve on boards. We volunteer hours. We donate money. And we push communities to do as much as they can for the military, for youth, and for the community as a whole. And so doing good, or good is everywhere, literally is everywhere. It's throughout our organization, from every decision we make at a board down through our senior management and every one of our employees. And what I found fascinating over the past 5 or 6 years is we were driving this at one point of our change and who we were going to be. But as I said, at some point it changed to really being the core of our organization and being purpose driven. And the applicants we get to work for us are individuals who are drawn to that and want to work for that type of organization. And so it's sort of speeding up in and of itself because they are coming in and demanding more of this. So we're doing more and more constantly in the community engagement space, in the support of what is right in our community, in the support of our employee resource groups and Vystar resource groups around supporting our diversity, equity, and inclusion in our organization, and making sure that everyone is represented in what is right in our community and what is doing good.
How do you measure it? Or do you measure it? I mean, because you can't say it on a P&L, so then it's easy to panic. Because you're putting up, I mean, it's real dollars. I mean, you're putting real money out there, real hours. Yeah. Inevitably, somebody says, is it working? What's the ROI?
Yeah, no. I mean, we're definitely investing. As I said, I think we serve on over 110 boards in the community. Our employees we're over 15,000 hours of volunteer work this year alone. And, that's coming through August. So we'll probably end north of 20,000 hours. Our contributions and sponsorship contributions and donations are up probably 20 plus fold over the last 5 years. We're giving away this year, we're going to be north of $6 million, which is one of the top of any organization in North Florida, and probably as you push down into Central Florida. Now, there's some absolutely large players, and we're happy to partner with them and just come alongside and do what we can, but we're also proud of what we give to the market. I think that the way you measure it is you look at things like our turnover ratio of our employees is extremely low. It's significantly below the industry that we're in. And yet our employee engagement and morale scales are very high. We're talking 10, 15 points above what the standard in our industry is. If you go out to our member service with regards to how we're serving our members state that they love the organization, that they would continue to do business with the organization. We look at things like Google and Yelp reviews, and those are north of 4.8, 4.9 out of 5. And, our member service surveys, those give us feedback. Our member growth, number of new members that we're adding in the community is 2 to 3 times what the industry standard is. It's faster. Part of it is, yes, being in Florida, being in Jacksonville, but our membership is growing at multiples faster than even Jacksonville or Florida or our industry. And yet we're still providing the financial return that we need to. I think one of the things that's really interesting about us is, every financial institution looks at itself. Here's going to be the one tell on how we're different, right? Every organization has what is your ROA? What are you getting out of this, or your ROI on this project, or how much of a net worth do you have, and all of that growth rate. For us, with me, with the board, with my annual review, with some of our leadership team, we don't just have minimums that we're trying to make on an ROA basis or things like that, or how much we have on reserves in our net worth. We have caps on how much. So on an ROA basis, there is a certain amount that we need to make on net income to sustain, because we have regulatory responsibilities to have so much in reserves and things like that. And so we have to hit these minimums. But I also get docked if we go over a certain. I have a cap on what mine is that I'm supposed to earn. So obviously, any other financial institution, it's what they're charged with doing. So I've been in that space. I get it. But you want to earn as much as you can. For us, we want to earn enough to be safe and sound. We want to earn a little bit to be able to do the things we need to do to improve the organization, put away into our net worth savings, right? Things like that. But it's at some point we say, how are we earning that much? Why are we earning that much? We're doing it because we're not paying enough in deposit rates to our members. so we should give back more. Or we'd be doing it because we're charging too high of a loan rate, which is taking from our members, or we're not investing enough in our community. And so we have these caps on those type of things to make sure that we make good decisions, financially sound decisions, that we run the organization in a safe and sound manner and meet all of our regulatory requirements. But ours is not to, just make as much money as possible. We actually, there's a cap on that and a negative in our board's perspective on what if we were to make too much money, if we were to be charging too many fees, if we were to be, holding on to our members' money. Our charge is to make the right amount of money, to give back as much as possible, and to make sure we don't keep any money we don't need, that it belongs to our members, and get it back to them in one way, shape, or form, whether that's directly to them, or it's through rates and fees, or it's to the community around them to support them and their neighbors and provide a great place to live.
And that's brilliant, because that puts it puts a practice behind a policy or behind a value. We say this is true, and then we put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah, I think
this policy is going to ensure this stays true.
Yeah, I get the pleasure, and I'm blessed in being the face of the organization, but I'm so thankful for the board that I have and the support they give me, because obviously they set our standards and our guidance and where I'm supposed to go, and they correct me if we get out of line a little bit. And so you got to know that there's 9 other individuals that are there that are saying, here's who we want to be as a community, and here's how we want to represent and serve our neighbors and our friends and others across the region. And then my senior leadership team is who executes on that. And as I said a moment ago, down through the whole organization, the new employees that are joining us and the employees that have been with us forever are just, they're the ones going out there doing the volunteer work, sitting on the boards, finding places for us to get engaged and places to support people and help.
Mm-hmm. It's incredible.
I know in some ways I can relate to Rethreaded. Like, we have a different bottom line than most businesses. Like, we do everything backwards. We're like, how many women do we want to hire this year? And then we go backwards and here, like, so here's the budget we need to employ this many women at Rethreaded.
And a lot of people talk about nonprofits that they can't make profit. Obviously, you don't stay in business if you don't make profit. Yep. So we have to really explain to our staff, because a lot of them are young and learning, but we do want to have net profit. But like you, if we have too much, we didn't hire enough ladies.
Yeah. Yeah,
because our bottom line on the P&L is actually hours of employment for survivors of human trafficking. And so, it's a different value structure. There's nothing wrong with the other one. I agree with you. There are people who their bottom line is to make money, and they run a great business and they provide for their employees. Okay, it's all fine. Yeah. But it's just different.
Our charge is not making the most money. It does have aspects of safety and soundness with regards to financials and being wise in how you handle the organization, as we represent almost 1 million individuals across Florida and Georgia now. But it also has charges around growth for good and doing more in the community and giving back and supporting our employees and things like that.
So is this your first, have you been a CEO before?
This was my first job as a CEO. Previous to this, I was chief operations officer for a similarly sized organization that was spread out across 4 or 5 states. And before that, I was in senior management on the state level for one of the national banks. So what do you feel like was put into you, and what did you learn and what was built in you? So when you moved into the CEO position, that you were grounded in purpose, which is not usually, it's not that normal. So like, what has happened to you as you have grown in your career and your life that has caused you to be such a purposeful leadership? I think it starts with, the family setting, my parents, and I look back at that, and, I had a family that was, really grounded and had good roots and taught good values. Do you have like certain values you feel like your parents taught you? I definitely think that being committed to things and hardworking and intentional about what you're trying to do were definitely some of the basis. They wanted us to excel, but it wasn't at any cost. That was never any part of what we were taught. And then, treating people well. I grew up out in the suburbs. And so, I had a variety of experiences as I started to go to school in the city in Buffalo. And my parents were just great individuals who believed in treating everyone well. If you do well in life, it doesn't mean you're a better person. It just means that, thankful, you should be thankful for those things, and you're blessed, and, there's hard work and there's good luck that hits different people, but you should treat everyone the exact same. And in fact, if you do well in life and you have some opportunities, you should be able to share that and to give back. Our family, I went to a Catholic school growing up, and, and then a Jesuit school for high school. And the Jesuit system is based on service and giving back. And so we had service projects that we did each year of school. And then in general, just as I grew up, my friend group was pretty diverse and from all different places, and just learned that the value of people was really about who they were and what they brought to the table, and everyone deserved as much opportunity and chance as everyone else. And so, I think more for me as I get into this role, it's if we do have the benefit of where we sit with regards to Vystar. I mean, we are a very large organization, and we can effectuate change. And I think that's on us to do that. And so you get taught those core values when you're younger. And, I just happen to have at this point a magnified stage from which to do it. And so we are getting to see what you profess, right, of philanthropy through business and doing good magnified. And as we continue to grow down across Florida and up into Georgia, it's not going to change. It's who we are and what we go to market with. And, and as I said, we know it's well received. It takes some time. It's, there's quicker ways to get things done sometimes, or to get a better return on certain aspects, or to make a little bit more money here or there. But we get to do really good work, make good impact, and feel good about what we're doing.
So both of you are two leaders that I look up to a lot. Who did you guys look up to as your career? Like, who kind of taught you what a leader is?
Yeah, I mean, so I have a variety of people that I would say, and I say this high level. I think I've got taught to be a good leader and a good person from both sides, right? From people that I aspire to be like, and others that I see that I didn't think treated people or their job or community well. And you learn as much about what not to do, or what you don't want to do, or how you were made to feel when you had to do something that you were told to do by someone else, and you say, that wasn't fair, that wasn't nice. So for people I look up to, I think, I'd go all the way back to my high school with regards to who is now our principal there, Father Ciancimino, and conversations I had with him over time, and just about, learning as you grow up and grow into who you are and who you want to be. And then moved through a couple of jobs and ended up at HSBC, as I noted, and started working for an amazing individual there, Sterling Kozlowski, who
that's a great name.
Yeah,
Sterling Kozlowski,
and to have the first name Sterling while being in banking, so he was a good person who took the time to get to know individuals throughout the organization and ask what you wanted to do personally and why you wanted to do it and what made you feel fulfilled. He was a really good influence on me. And then, I still think I'm learning. And so coming to town here, I think very highly of a variety of organizations and individuals. And when I got to town here, Hugh Green at Baptist and his commitment to our community. And then you've got Pat and Darnell over at Florida Blue and their relentless and unforgiving commitment to doing what's right and investing in our community. And those are, organizations like them and like the Miller family and even, not even, but Jaguars and some of the work we've been doing with them out east and their commitment. I mean, there are just a magnitude of great, families that are here that are contributing, but there are some great individuals. And if I look at current leaders, the two I mentioned back through my history and then everything that Florida Blue does in our community.
So good. Those are all good. And like what I see Jason do as a leader, like I get to witness it, like sitting with people, what makes you come alive, all this stuff that I learned from him is exactly like what you spoke of about what your mentor did. They saw you, they asked questions. Yeah, they see you, and try to build that into you.
My family, my grandfather, my father passed when I was a kid, and my grandfather just poured into me and my brother. And so he taught us the ethics of hard work and honesty and integrity and protect the people who can't protect themselves and stuff like that. But my principal in high school, Mr. Fuqua, I was involved in some shenanigans at lunch one day. And he pulled me to the side, could have given me detention, could have put his arm around me and said, one of these days, you're going to be the man I see you becoming. And it changed my behavior for the rest of my high school career. Not because he punished me, because he didn't. But because he said he saw something in me that I would become. I didn't even know what it was. And so it made you start looking at just your behaviors and how you would affect your environment around you and that kind of stuff. And then I had Kathy Eichenblatt and Robert Russo were both early managers of mine, and they just loved people and they would not bend a standard. They would not bend a standard. And I just appreciate, I just grew significantly because they held me to a high standard, but they absolutely loved me. They just were the sweetest, kindest people you could ever possibly imagine. And so, it's those kind of people that you see. You don't have to be sweet and bend the rules. You can have standards, call people to a higher standard, call them. Well, it's what we talk about in community. Who are the people who are going to hold you accountable and call you out to be your best self? Not who the people are going to be sweet to your face. Who are the people who are going to call you to be the best of yourself?
I absolutely agree with that. Demanding more of people, demanding what's already in them and finding a way to pull that out of them is one of the great ways that you can be a leader and be sort of a beacon for others to look to and create more in your community and space. I do find it, you also referenced your principal, and, it's one of the reasons that my family and I do a bit around youth. We adopted our son, and I think, his mother was a great individual who, struggled sometimes with her decision making and things that occurred. And so you look at a child like that and the opportunities that have been provided to him, and you say, okay, I love what we've been able to do for him, but how do we do more for every child in the city? And why doesn't every child have that opportunity? And so effectuating change with the youth, to us, is one of the big things that we work on. It's a lot of our family contributions and time spent, and we do a lot with the Museum of Science. We also work with the Jacksonville Public Education Fund and others, and that is all based on the theory of, instead of, at the end of the time, figuring out how do we deal with these issues, which is a lot of what we're doing at the company and a lot of the places that we volunteer and give money and things like that. But how do we change how do we make a difference in the people who are going to make a difference? How do we change those who are going to change the world? How do we start when kids are young and get them to be these type of leaders like Jason and lead others and to step up and to be great individuals?
And that's I think we just changed our mission statement, but now in our mission statement, we're talking about breaking the cycle of generational trauma. And like how if our women, when they get healed, they break generations of trauma so their kids don't have to experience it. And they are raising up, this next generation that will not be affected like they were by addiction and absent parents. And
I mean, I love the work you're doing on helping the women who have suffered themselves. But if that's all you did, that's going to be a continual process for the rest of time. Like every other nonprofit, what we need to do is continue to work to get to the youth and make sure that they are in the best environments that are possible, whether that's supporting our school districts and our schools, supporting our students in our schools for whoever they are and supporting them as they grow up, and working to provide them housing security and food security, and everything is such an important piece of that. And, as you work with the women at Rethreaded, having them be strong beacons of what is and what can be for the youth that look to them.
Yeah. And I was just wanting to comment about this relationship with Vystar is that we have been, housing is one of our biggest issues, affordable, safe housing for our women. And we've been partnering with Vystar in your program for first-time homeowners. And some of our women will end up being homeowners for the first in their generation, owning a home and creating stability for their family. And it will change their life and their kids' lives for generations.
For us, that falls into two of our big pillars, which are youth and community building. And we partner with you guys on that. We partner with Habijacks. We partner with Lift Jacks on trying to stabilize communities, stabilize families, stabilize, those around us. No matter who you are and how lucky you are in life, and you want a great community around it, it's just going to make your life fuller. It's going to make your life a better, let's make a better Jacksonville across the board.
I mean, we use the words, they are us. It's when you see someone suffering and you can leave them at those people, that area of the city, whatever. But the moment it's us, I'm hurting. It's my community. I'm hurting. Why in the world wouldn't I do something about it? It's not. I like what you said a little while there. There's a little bit of selfishness in that.
Yeah. No, I mean,
good selfishness.
Yeah. And it's interesting because this comes full circle back to for-profit organizations sometimes make the same decisions, but they make them for the calculated end result that they're going to get out of it. Yeah. If you just make the good decisions, you're going to end up in a really good place of, to your point, better community to live in, better, environment for me to be in, for my child to be raised in, my neighbors aren't struggling with issues or whatever that is. It's I trying to hesitate and dance around the word selfish. I don't want to say that. But, there is a benefit that raising water lifts all boats, right?
That's right.
And that sometimes I think people try to make it very complicated, but you are running a credit union. How can we use our credit union to do good? I run a paint company. How can I use painting to do good? Just use what you know to influence the world and do good.
Yeah. I mean, any action, tactical activity can be changed in this equation. Any dollar amount or amount of time can be scaled up or scaled down based on the budget, based on the time or the people that you have available. You look at issues that our city is dealing with. If you think about if we put 1 million people behind that working on it, even for a day, or if you put the financial resources just a small bit across the hundreds of thousands of businesses that are here, we would start to really drive change. And then back to the selfish comment, what would happen is the city would be this beautiful place that people would flood into, and your business would end up with more business
Right.
because more people would want to live here.
Right.
I was thinking, you mentioned a minute ago, it was, it's sort of selfish. It comes back. It's a they, and they is really us. And it reminds me of an email I got a little bit ago. About 2 or 3 years ago, my spouse and I had donated some money and decorated a room over at YCC for homeless youth. And we went out, we did the shopping, we set the whole room up, and, we go on about our day. We've made a donation here, and that's an amazing organization that supports youth in our community. It's tied into other organizations that we work with and that my spouse even is on the board of. And about 3.5 years later, I get an email from someone I know or work with that you would not have thought would have a situation with their child ended up being homeless, ended up staying at not only this organization, but in our room, and ends up calling and talking to their mother and saying, do you know these people? They paid for the room that we're in. And it's just amazing because while we'd always want to do that and always be giving back and always love to be helping, to have it come full circle and to be about people that you just never know. It's about everyone. It's about the whole community. Right. And whether it's directly about them like this story, or it's just about lifting the environment and the community as a whole.
Yeah, I know you get to experience that all the time. And Rethreaded does. We have people come into our building and they're having a conversation about how they can help us. And in that conversation, we realize the pain that they actually walked in with, that there's a bigger reason why they're standing in that building. And their hearts are broken because, on the outside and what their coworkers see every day, they're all put together and everything's perfect. And that's just not the lives that anybody lives.
Yeah.
We all got stuff. And so, it's incredible
and unfortunately, some of that stuff prevents people from leaning in and helping. Because I'm hurt or I've been hurt, I'm not going to lean in and help anyone else. And it's actually in that process that you are healed and continue to evolve and develop. It's dealing with, taking the time to deal with what has happened to you, realizing that, whatever that might be, and then getting to a good place and being very intentional about how to effectuate change for others that helps you and heal in and of yourself.
It's true.
Whatever that might be.
That's exactly right.
I know I just got to do the Rethreaded process training for the first time, and I loved it so much. But I loved it because I knew some of the people in the room, and it was I know how busy they are. And it was like the first time that they took time over an hour, didn't have to worry about anything. They could just come in and process and walk through this. And I wish that I could keep creating environments where people can have this time to go through the process, because it feels sometimes in the moment impossible to get your life back and heal because of everything that's going on around you. It's hard to see through all that chaos, that things can change.
Yeah, especially in the moment, right?
In the moment.
We've all had different types of traumatic experiences or times. And in the moment, sometimes it's just about getting through, right? Because you got to get to the other side to get the time sometimes. But in that, taking the time to start the process is helped along after the fact by the people you surround yourself and the work you do. But, I think it's as long as everyone's well-intentioned, leaning in our community, we're going to be a great place.
I agree. I do have one more question, a question I was thinking about when I was thinking about purpose and vision, is that, so we see this happen at Rethreaded a lot, that our values, our mission becomes a person's mission and values. And it starts to become common language, do the right thing, embrace the suck. I mean, all of it starts to get ingrained in our employees. And I was thinking about you and the mission, the vision you have, do good, and how every employee at any level, the CEO down to anyone, can embrace that in their job, use their job to do good, and in their life. Like, it's such a beautiful example of the power of purpose. Love it.
Yeah. We can, if you think about every single employee, I would hope it's something that every single employee could tell you what is, and that our core value, I don't think we've gone over that one yet today, is, lead by example. And we talked about all of our other core values that used to exist that I consider table stakes. All of those are really wrapped up in lead by example too, because in it, whatever that situation is, it's going to be a core value if you're leading by example, whether it's making the right choice, treating people the right way, donating money, serving our members, helping them do something, taking care of an elderly member who can't get into a branch. But to your point, you can make a decision at every instance. It can be about, all the way from our branch employees of how do you interact right now? I'm a little grumpy. I came in, I'm having a bad day. How do I interact? How do I treat another coworker? What do I do with regards to work? Do I try and get extra done so others don't have to, or do I slack a little because I don't think anyone will notice? What do we do with this nonprofit or this cultural organization? How do we provide for them, or how do we provide for members? I go back to, you had asked a bit ago about examples of how we lead with do good. I'm thinking about the early days of COVID and the when times were shutting down. We I think it was within days. We didn't wait for people to call us with needs. We called to each of the nonprofit organizations that we worked with and started asking what they saw as their needs and how they were going to be. And when they figured those out, let us know. We recently had a partner in the nonprofit space who serves youth who was going through some tough times. And, at times like that, a lot of supporters might maybe not abandon ship, but they step into the background so they don't get hit with the crossfire. And we reached out to them and said, whatever it is, we'll be here. You don't have to question whether we're going to continue to support you. We're going to, work through.
That's
and
amazing.
So it's those decisions. When I say do good, it's about, just doing what's right, making the choice you'd want others to make.
I love the other thing about this too, because a lot of people struggle. When you start talking about purpose, people start telling you what they do. And do good has nothing to do with your role.
Yep. Yes.
Your purpose has nothing to do with your role. You bring your purpose into whatever role you happen to have. So
you can bring the purpose of do good to any role.
Right. If you're mopping the floor, you can bring the purpose of do good into it. If you're helping a customer, you can bring the purpose of do good. It's I mean, maybe not everybody's mission statement or values are that clear, but that's a really powerful one to help people distinguish between what's my purpose and what do I do? My purpose is to be a great husband. No. That's your role. How do you bring your purpose into your role?
And what advice do you give to other business owners about putting purpose into your company? Because we experience a lot of different companies, and I've experienced the company who is, it's very external. It's not internal. It's not in the heart of the company. And you can just tell the difference in their employees and how would you coach leadership? And this is how you bring purpose internally to help transform your organization.
I think you started with a bit of it there in that it's got to be innate to the people that are doing the work. Hopefully it starts with the leader, and it's got to be part of who they are, not something even that they choose as part of a business plan or something like that of, this will help us. And then, you surround yourself with that. And so if you're a leader who, hopefully is well-intentioned and a good person, but you just don't emote that in the same way, just surround yourself with people that really want to bring that to life and to give back and contribute and, make sure they're realistic about how that is within your organization. Choose what path that's going to be and then stick to it, be intentional. And the one thing I think I've said it in a few different ways is you've got to stick to it. You've got to, you might have to adjust some things here and there to good years, bad years, adjust. But when you commit, you've got to commit. It's, it's our partnerships with our nonprofit and cultural organizations is long term. It's not hey, we're having a rough year, we're going to pull away, we're not going to talk to you, we're not going to fund these loans. Hey, Mr. Jones, I know we approved your XYZ loan, but we're not funding those now, or things like that. We we stay with, whether it's our employees, our community members, or our members throughout, no matter what.
And I love that. Can I tell one story about one of our employees in Vystar? So like when our women come out of the life, they don't have any money, they have no credit, they have nothing, but they need a car. And usually the only car they can get, ironically, is a brand new car at a very, very, very high interest rate. And their brain is still in trauma. So they lose their ability to make rational decisions. They haven't developed that yet. They haven't healed enough. So one of our ladies had bought a car, and her payments were larger than I've ever had in my life. Okay. And she went to Vystar and worked out a different deal. And they helped her navigate this whole thing, the whole loan, the whole car thing, and got her out of it and in something that allowed her to live and have a good, safe car. And again, part of changing her life from a bank, doing good.
Yeah. And I think that's why we do what we do. Effectuating, doing good through every means possible. And, I've worked at the banks, and I've worked obviously at the credit unions, and the feedback we get from members, from the community, the letters we get things wrong. We make mistakes. We sometimes we make them twice, and we get really yelled at for not having straightened it out right. But in general, we get a lot of really positive ones. We get a lot of really good stories being told, people writing to our board, thanking us for stuff we've done, going above and beyond. We encourage our employees to spend that time to do what's right and follow through. And again, they're not gold on like getting a little extra out of someone or making a little money, or don't tell them about this product or service. That's not how we operate. So usually, they get the right product in the right hand, and we can help a lot of people.
That's good.
Yeah, because it's a transaction, but no, it legit changed that person's life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think sometimes we try to make it overly dramatic. Oh, it saved a person's life. It was a transaction, but it was done well, and it was done right with a heart for a human being. And it legit changed that lady's life.
And that's why it's become awesome, again, for this third or fourth time, to become known for being this way and purpose driven, because we're attracting employees who we don't even have to have that conversation with.
That's so
they
good.
are doing it each and every day. They wouldn't allow us to change how we approach things. They wouldn't allow us to do anything that would not fulfill that, because they're sitting in that branch, they're on that call. They want to do that. That's why they've come to us nowadays.
I know you have Jennifer Kuchers, who's on our board, and I love her.
Oh, we love her.
She's like a fierce
She's so
nature of good.
Absolutely amazing individual.
She's so good.
Okay. All right. We're getting near a time. What advice, what do you want to leave people with?
I think, you always want to do good for yourself and take care of you and your family. But realizing that we live in a whole community every day. And so just thinking about your actions and how they impact others. Unfortunately, we live in a world where a lot of people do things and say things on social media or from a distance, or, either negative or don't take an action to the positive. And that leaves us missing something, where if you're if it's negative stuff, that's definitely not necessary and not needed in our society and in our community. And we've got to move forward. We've had unfortunate events in the past couple of years around some stuff with anti-Semitic statements and some race recently with the shooting and around some of our LGBT youth in our school system and stuff. And it's not helpful. It's not moving our society forward. But also just sitting on the sidelines isn't the best choice, because if we all get involved, if we all engage, we're going to build a better community. And quite frankly, it's going to be a lighter lift for everyone around if everyone's participating and leaning in.
Lean in. That's what I'm lean in.
Lean in. That's a good one.
All right. Anything else?
Not from me.
All right. Thank you, Brian. That was awesome. Thank you for your leadership in our city.
Yeah.
Thank you for using all aspects of your life to do good. And just a personal thank you for your investment into Rethreaded, into the lives of our women. You are directly changing their lives. So thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you for a great conversation today.
Yes.